Hey yo, it's Tory G. I'm here to talk to you today about how I mixed All Night by James Artissen and Khujo Goodie from the Goodie Mob. Let's go ahead and show you the first hook and verse, and then we'll get into what I did for the mix.
Cause I don't wanna fight with you all night, cause you're wasting my time. Goodbye, sweet, sweet goodbye, sweet, sweet.
I don't wanna fight all night, like cats and dogs. Let's start all over, baby. I was wrong, like two left shoes on my feet. I'm the fool, I don't wanna lose you too. Some other dude. We in this thing together, like peas in a pod. You know I got your back, baby, and that's on God. Teamwork make the dream work, like Bunny and Clyde. It's us against the world, girl. Come on, let's slide.
Y'all got the gist of that. So let's go ahead and talk about James' vocals. So he's got his lead, and then I got a folder track or a bus with all his background vocals here. So let's go ahead and look into that. On the lead track, you're using Pro Tools, aux. I use buses in Studio One. I got Speccraft to control the resonances and rebalance the vocals tonally, just to clean it up. It's not doing too much. Let's take a look at what it's doing here.
Cause I don't wanna fight with you all night, cause you're wasting my time. Goodbye.
Really just to control those S sibilances, those pokey frequencies, and some of this boxiness around 200. I wouldn't even call it boxiness. I would call it boominess. He's got a man's voice, so it's just really just getting that male tone under control here. Using a fairly new plugin, K-Strip, from my friends at Kive Audio. This thing just did the most perfect thing it could do. And I got it pretty much set to the Neve emulation, which is the N. So all the modules are set to the N function. I got some drive going into the pre. I got some harmonics added, some additional harmonics. And I took back the trim knob here a little bit, boosted the top end. I didn't change the frequency. Started at 10K and boosted about 5. Didn't do anything with the upper mids. Took out some 500. I'm assuming that these are wider cues, so 500 to 400, and kind of coming back up at 3. Took that out, and then right at 200, I took out 3 dB, and I high passed up to 99. What's dope about these plugins is it has auto gain feature on each module, so everything you do is compensated at the module level. So everything you do here changes. It changes how it feeds this, and then the gain structure changes how it feeds that. And then I'll additionally use the compression. I got it set to -10 dB threshold. I left this right at 5 in the middle. The attack is fairly fast. The release is fast. Then I also did the makeup gain to recompensate. One thing that I did do, because it was a stereo vocal that was sent to me and I wanted it to kind of be focused, I just turned the width knob all the way down, basically making it mono. Didn't do anything with the gate or shaper here. So the next thing that I did, awesome, this is probably one of the better de-essers I have in my collection. This is the vocal de-esser from Antares. I let it do its thing. I didn't change anything. It made the decision for me, and I let it do its job, and it sounds really good. On the aux, I did a little bit more shaping with the Pro Q4, took out some more 200, took out some more boxiness at 369, controlled some resonant frequency at 780, did a wide boost with the center frequency at 1580, did a cut right here at 2600, 2.6 kilohertz, which is that, you know, that pokey pain tone. And then I did a general boost over here at the top, basically starting it at 10K, but also it kind of, the way the shape is, it kind of gradually goes up. And then I did another basic DS within Pro Q. So I'm doing a lot of pushing and pulling with these plugins here. Pushing and pulling. I did DSing already, and as I'm boosting gain and boosting frequencies, I have to, get that under control. The next plugin is the Xvox. I use this a lot for recording, 0 latency. I did dynamics, more DSing, controlling some more of that low mid stuff. And all this stuff is gradual. So in this particular mix, I didn't do any deep cuts, which kind of led to all these different cuts and different reduction here. So I just used the tone function here just to reduce that right around 180, 200. Did another high pass, and I did the smooth setting on the Xbox. That kind of allows it to breathe a little bit, I feel like. and started the de-esser here around 5.2 kilohertz. And that's all I used on this. I really could have just used the 2 plugins from the bundle, but that was just easiest to grab since it was available on one channel. Lastly, the good old MV2. All I did was make sure that it kept the vocals in a nice pocket and consistent, because these are dynamic vocals. He's a dynamic vocalist. He may be quiet at one point, might be a little bit louder at another. This what keeps him in a nice happy middle ground. And that's why the lead sounds fairly even like this.
'Cause you're wasting my time. Goodbye, sweet, sweet goodbye.
And that's all I did on that. Similar thing on the backgrounds, except I only did de-essing on the individual tracks just to make sure that the S's are controlled on the backgrounds, not impeding or throwing off the timing of the lead. Speccraft, once again, to control the resonances and get the balance overall right for the vocals. K-Strip, once again, a little less aggressive with the compression. Everything else was the same, except the width knob. I left that wide. Xvox, I got this again. Boosted some of the upper mids. De-essed a little bit more heavily. Added some color from the vocal bus compressor setting. Added reverb and added a chorus effect to kind of give it a little bit more of a bed or wall of sound here. And that's what I did on the hook bus. Let's talk about the effects that I use for the song. So my approach is pretty minimalistic. All the vocals are going to go to the same effect bus for the most part, unless there's like something special going on. So what I did was basically just consolidate everything to the main things, which kind of also makes everything feel like it's in the same studio, same space, right? So I got a long verb, short verb, parallel compressor, vocal spreader, a silk thing that I got from one of my friends, and a side chain. All right, so let's talk about the long reverb. So EQ, I didn't do anything on the EQ. I used the new BX Aura for the reverb, did some ducking, just getting the reverb pushed back when the main vocals come through. Shaped it here, made sure that we had some space for the vocals to live and let the reverb have its own little corner and shape the tone. I didn't really do too much of the settings here. I just kind of made sure that everything was set the way I felt like it sounded right. I probably added some drive to make it a little bit more thick. And then I have Ozone Dynamics, which can be a multi-band compressor, and I just had to control the top end, upper mids, and most of the low end just to keep it under control for the reverb. The next one I have is a short reverb here, just a simple room reverb from Studio One. Just made everything real short just to make sure that it gives it a depth of field, makes it like it's right in front of you but still in a room. Let's just take a listen of how those reverbs sound. So here's the long reverb. Pumping going on, but when it's all kind of blended together, when you get the timing right, it sounds cohesive. All right, here's the short room. 'Cause you're wasting my time. Goodbye, sweet, sweet goodbye. Very simple stuff that adds depth. I use Dr. MS to make my vocals wide. All I do is just make sure that this thing is set where the focus is putting the mid stuff into the side and just making the vocals kind of just live in this space overall. I got the H3000 doing some modulation to kind of make the vocals feel like they're moving. They're not just some stagnant thing. They're a little wavy. Then I got my good old, this is probably the one compressor I use the most in every session, and it is for parallel compression. Check this out. 'Cause you're wasting my time. Goodbye, sweet, sweet goodbye. It's just really there to bring up the low level just a tad bit, add to that what the MV2 is doing, but for the entire vocals together. Let's go ahead and move on to Khujo Goodie's vocals. All right, so for Khujo, everything very similar except for rapping, I had to treat it a little bit different. And Khujo's voice is also just different from James, right? So let's just take a look at what was going on here. So I have ad lib and 2 verse tracks. One is a dub, one is the lead. So let's just hear what's going on real quick with that.
I don't wanna fight all night like cats and dogs. Let's start all over, baby. I was wrong. Like
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the lead. lead vocal, there's some de-essing, there's some similar stuff. I guess, like if you start to notice that you're taking out certain frequencies on all the tracks, on all the vocals within a song, it's probably because that's the most consistent tone that everybody's kind of hitting. And if you can make it work together or control it or boost it all in the same, like you start noticing you're boosting the same frequency on even different vocals, that just means that's like the song frequency. At least for me, the song's frequency probably is like right here. So we're just kind of controlling it and get everything under control. Get everything to kind of feel cohesive. Took some boxing this out at 369. It could also mean that they recorded in the same studio and the microphone had the same problem or the same microphone response in those areas. And then I boosted some low end on his right around 150. I needed him to feel, a little bit more thick. I wasn't happy with what the microphone did, so I just did that. De-esser again, RVox on this one. Oh look, nothing's going on with RVox. It might not even be doing nothing. MV2's not even doing anything. That's funny. I guess it was just doing enough. Or, I see, I did most of the work here on the bus. So let's go ahead and move to the dubs. So the dubs, the dub track was literally one vocal, but I wanted it to sound like it was two vocals instead of one. So I'm pretty sure the EQ is not the same. I rolled off a lot just so that it could fit right underneath. I did this for two things. I wrote off all this top end for two reasons. One, to kind of let it sit underneath the main track. And two, it's kind of like the science behind it. If you're listening to vocals and the sibilances and the mouth clicks are all going on at the same time, it makes it feel like everything's kind of off. If things are all kind of not hitting at the same point in time. So simply just heavily de-essing the dubs or backgrounds or just rolling off the top end will give the impression that everything is kind of still within that same pocket. Otherwise, you can use a vocal alignment. You could do it manually or use vocal line. I typically use vocal line, but in this case, I felt like the vocal line was too robotic, so I just did this trick. This is probably the greatest double tracker I've ever used, doubler. I just put on baritone mode because that sounds like his voice, and it sounded great. Added that, gave me that wide double tracks feeling. So the next thing after the duo, I used the 76 to just kind of control all that. And let's take a listen.
I don't want to fight all night like cats and dogs. Let's start all over, baby. I was wrong.
Real easy, real simple. Real easy, real simple. And then for the ad-libs, DS, notice the EQ is the same. DS again. Cut out the resonances. Cut out the boxiness right here for around 4K and 2K. And then I used the Xbox. I used the Neptune preset and just made it my own. This Mega Modest was making it sound spacey. Added his own delay and reverb in there. Did the high pass and low pass. Made it extra airy. This air band here is basically for saturation. And I just basically saturated everything going up, but still cut it so that it does a special thing, right? It makes everything kind of stand up, but when I roll it off, it makes it kind of be more controlled. Compressed it heavily, de-essed it some more. I did a lot of compression because these ad-libs, I wanted them to be what they are and then out of the way. I don't want nobody guessing what he's saying in the back, and boom. So let's take a listen at these ad-libs.
All night, cats and dogs. Baby, I was wrong. On my feet, I'm the fool.
And I just let it do its thing with that. What you're hearing right now is panning automation. All I did there was hit A on the keyboard in Studio One and just pan left and right, all this stuff to make the ad-libs move around. And so, with that being said, on the mix bus, I didn't do too much mix bus processing with this one. Didn't even do anything with the EQ. All I did was add the good old orange clip. Clipped it at 5 dB, 5 dB of clipping, left everything else the same. Very simple, very, very simple. And then that was the mix bus. So I did master this in the session. Let's go ahead and take a look. Got the good old Soundtech from Make Believe, boosted at 2K. just to give everything an excitement. Now, what I did here was I made the band really, really wide. So it's not like just this pointy 2K frequency. The center is the 2K, but the overall lift happens to the upper mids. Same thing for the going into the high end. Started the mid frequency at 19K and did another wideband, boosted it another 1.5 dB, boosted the low end at 50 hertz, 2.5 dB, and then also at 570, 1.5 dB boost with a wideband. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So that would look like, you can kind of see it. The shelves, it looks like one big wavy thing. And I could probably have accomplished this with cuts, but the way this thing sounds, it sounds pretty good when you do it like this. I don't know. It's just me. But the crossovers is where the magic kind of happens. So where this band starts and stops, you can see where it does add a lift, but each one is doing their own thing at those points. And that kind of helps, that kind of actually induces character. I got the black box EQ, boosting some more low end. I needed some more tightness, some more goodness from the low end. So instead of boosting it heavily, as far as level goes, I just saturated it heavily. Now we're getting that growl, that feeling. Pro Q did some low mid work, and I wanted the kick to come out of the beat. So I did an upwards compression or upwards expansion to this with the band in Pro Q4, cleaned up at 146, did another wide boost at 379, cut heavily at 430, small boost at 18K, and then just rolled all the extremes off. And then on to the master plan. This is the finisher. Boosted again, two more dB. Now, if you notice, I'm not boosting crazy with any of these plugins. We're talking about less than 3 dB. So it looks crazy, but it's actually not that bad. So overall, I ended up boosting like 5 dB at the end. And that just kind of rebalanced everything, made everything a little bit more thick, a little bit more live. Gave it, did some more saturation. Let it do its resonant suppression here. Added some tape saturation, widened it up, and boosted the volume. And that's how we got the final track sound. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
I don't wanna fight all night like cats and dogs. Let's start all over, baby. I was wrong. Like 2 left shoes on my feet. I'm the fool. I don't.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. The loudness is intense on this, but it was necessary. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick overview of this mix. You guys take it easy. Tory G out.